Count Floyd here. Time for another Monster Chiller Horror Theater. I bet you're good and scared, huh? Well, you should be, because tonight we have a real terrifying film for you. A scary movie.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, howdy, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello, how's it going? Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live, episode 142 here today. It's the Halloween edition. We're going to be looking at Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac. And this is sort of an examination of a kind of cut and paste fear campaign. So thank you very much for joining me here on the Halloween edition, Sunday, October 26th, 2025. Just a wee bit past 5 p.m. local time, mountain time. Because as always, broadcasting live from Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada land. Purdy, Alberta. Spooky, Alberta. That doesn't work. Anyway, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me here for this evening's spine-tingling show. We're going to be comparing the official His Stories, if you will, of Jack the Ripper from 1888 and the Zodiac from 1968, excuse me. It's spooky. And as per usual, links below for everything we're going to be covering. Speaking of links below, that's how you can get a hold of a fella as well. BitChute, a guy's email. And of course, over on the Rumble, broadcasting live in stereo there, simultaneously both on that green flatten platform, the Bumble, and of course on the YouTubes. So links below for everything. As well as my location map and PayPal, if you feel so generously inclined to make a donation to the channel. Certainly not expected, but greatly appreciated. I'll send you a t-shirt if you include your address and what size you want. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, thanks for winding down your weekend here on the Sunday Fun Day show.
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
Woo! If you haven't already, please consider giving a guy one of these. You know, it just kind of helps to push me out into the thing. do all the other things. Thank you very much to everybody who's already shared, subscribed. If you're watching this after the fact, after the live, really appreciate you as well. So thank you very much. How's everybody doing? Yeah, we're a little early for the Halloween, but you know what? I couldn't decide between two topics. So next Sunday, I might do another Halloween-ish related topic. Next Sunday is what, November the 2nd or something? Anyway, getting off track here. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Really appreciate all of you. Let me know how you're doing in the box, in the chat. Say hello. See what's what, who's here, and you ready to get scared, kids? Oh. Hippie Shake is here. Howdy, Hippie. Good to see you. Chassis Nix is in the box as well. Howdy, Chassis. Channel 53. Hello. How you doing? Realm Dweller over on Rumble. Howdy. Good to see you as always. Baja's here as well. Hello. Good to see you. Geneviève, Michel, bonsoir. Bonsoir, excusez-moi. Bonsoir. What else we got here? Yeah, I think that about does it. Nope. Title's here. A guy carving his jack-o'-lantern. Yeah, Title's here. Yeah, that's right. Just put the knife down, okay? Let's stay over there a little bit, maybe. Thank you. Good to see you, Title. Water the tree in the box. That's Ross. Good to see you. Howdy. Hello. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Happy Halloween to you as well. Pasture of Castles. Howdy. A lot of people are not fans. Kinley Jackson is here. Hello. A lot of people are not fans of spooky movies. You know, it's negative energy or whatever. But you can, come on. We're adults here. It's a little bit of a tradition with my brother and I, who are roommates. Me and my bro enjoy watching, starting in October, maybe once every week or two, we'll pop in a spooky movie, whether it's something newer or something more classic, like, I don't know, the original Frankenstein's monster, from the 30s, the Universal Classic Monster stuff, maybe some 1970s stuff like, Halloween or the first Friday the 13th, stuff like that. And as we get closer to actual Halloween, if we ramp up the viewing of the movies, The Exorcist, and I don't know, the Zodiac. Some of them are more suspense thrillers. Some of them are psychological horrors, like the original Alien. There's no harm in it as long as you, you could shake it off before your head hits the pillow. You got to get rid of those vibes. So at least, if not of anything else, you don't have nightmares. Tossing and turning all night. I shouldn't have watched that. I should not have watched it. Cousin Vinny over here, Vincent, in the box says, boo, on Freemason. Boo, he says. Because you know what it is. Cousin Vinny and Frankie Fingers.
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers. That Frankie Fingers a New West Reset of the sand.
Wait, what? Kathy Broughton in the box says, I like the movie The Others. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Water the Tree. Ross says, cheesy horror flicks are awesome. Yeah, you gotta like the you know what? And speaking of cheesy, not necessarily cheesy, but also like the horror comedies, like Shaun of the Dead, of course. There's another one called Club Dread. And yeah, that's a pretty good one as well. Navium, hello, howdy, welcome. Good to see you. So what got me to thinking of this was not only myself, but many others allude to the fact that when we dig a little bit into some of the official narratives of stories or stories behind certain buildings or certain architects in certain cities, these stories seem to repeat themselves. And it's almost like the powers who should not be that assign these narratives to things after, resets only have a finite amount of stories that they've pre-written. And it seems like what they're doing is they're just, sort of cutting and pasting or copying and pasting stories, or, where they take 38 buildings and attribute it to one architect who is never professionally trained and won his first job as a result of a contest. And by the time he was 28, he designed and had all these buildings built, stuff like that, right? It just seems like they're just rubber stamping stuff. And they've only got a certain number of stories. And it occurred to me that it's kind of the same thing, not only with buildings or architects or what have you, but also with things that eventually end up entering the public lexicon, the sort of the collective consciousness, if you will. It goes from pop culture to an even another level up, legendary status or myth status. Stories such as the ones surrounding Jack the Ripper from the Whitechapel area of London in 1888, and the Zodiac from in and around the well, we'll get into it, but in and around in a close to San Francisco-ish area of California in 1968. And there's many similarities. Now, I'm not suggesting anything like they're the same killer and it's a time traveling killer. Come on. I'm not suggesting that. I am merely commenting on my observations how there is a lot of parallels between these two historical characters, right? Not to say that they're identical. There's just a lot more things than just the obvious. Well, they were both serial deleters, and they both stalked their victims under the cloak of darkness. Sure, but more than that. Right-minded in the box. Howdy, good to see you. Happy Halloween to you. Hello. Cousin Vinny on Freemason says, journey to the center of the earth. Now you're talking my language. Yeah, the hollow earth. The hollow earth. The expanding hollow earth. Blair Witch was good when I saw it in theaters as well, says Kinley. Yeah, I remember seeing that in the theaters. I think it was a midnight showing at that old theater in Kensington. Speaking of which, recently just did a subscriber meetup and mudflood walkabout of old-timey Kensington here in Calgary. One of the old structures that we've looked at there for that, as well as just individually in its own video in the past, once quite a while ago, is the old theater there in Kensington, and that's where I saw the Blair Witch. So it gets out at, almost 2 in the morning, and then I got to walk home, which isn't far, 15, 20-minute walk. But at night by yourself in October, spooky. Spooky. Just scrolling through here to see. Jesse says, I miss my low-budget early 90s USA up-all-night horror movies. Yeah, those late-night creature feature horror movies. Did yours have some kind of wacky host that would dress up like a mad scientist or a ghoul or a vampire or something? Yeah, serial deleters, because, you got to watch. You got to mind your P's and Q's on the Who tubes there, eh, buddy? Just, it is what it is. Jesse Nick said, I had these Times/Harper's magazines from the 1800s. Apparently, nothing real happened that history said, yet it was horror stories. Maybe JTR was one of them. Jack the Ripper, JTR. Possibly. I mean, the argument that I'm going to be presenting is not necessarily that these are characters that did or did not exist. That's irrelevant, really. I'm just going to have a spooky good time looking into the parallels of these two. And that's because, of course, leading up to Halloween, I've watched the British Jack the Ripper movie from, I want to say it was from the 70s. It had Christopher Lee, I believe. Was it Christopher Lee or the other one? The other famous British horror actor whose name escapes me. Forgive me, because I'm just a very sheltered, naive Canadian here, eh, buddy? Gilbert Gottfried, eh? Gilbert Gottfried! Yeah, he's crazy. Funny, though. That's the one, Kathy. Yeah, the garage turned movie theater. It was an old service station garage, where they do your oil changes and, you can get petrol, get gasoline. And they shut it down, and just in the same building, just somebody got the bright idea I'm going to buy that building and change that old automobile service station into a movie theater. Frankie Fingers over here. Frankie Bones. Frankie Finger Bones. Peter Cushing, thank you. Thank you, Channel 53. Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. I think they may have both been in the Jack the Ripper movie. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I watched it not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. And then I watched the Zodiac movie, geez, I'm terrible with names tonight, from the guy who did, David Fincher. And quite good. Quite good. It's not really horror, more of a psychological thriller. But that's what got the old wheels turning up in the guy's head bone, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, we're going to get into all of that as mentioned, links below for everything we're going to cover. If you're new to the channel, or as a reminder, mid-show, take a little bit of a break. And as always, I'll give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage video, old-timey video footage put together with some music. This one coming up will be Halloween themed for Wednesday. Friday, boots on the ground, just like every Friday. That's Halloween day. That will be a Halloween themed boots on the ground as well. A 1-hour walkabout tour of ye old spooky Union Cemetery here in Calgary. So I'm going to put that up as a premiere for Friday. What'll be 7 a.m. here, Mountain Time, local time. Friday, October 31st. We can watch it together and have a little chat in the box. It's per usual. And then back here for the live show next Sunday, episode Ep.143. And I think we're going to look a little bit into the legend of Sleepy Hollow. So once again, thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't already, please do all the things. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it as always. Without any further ado, let's quit monkeying around and see what's what here. Of course, we're going to start it off with the Wikipedia. Why? Because it's just, it can almost be so ridiculous to the point of laughter. And people just, yeah, normies or whatever, just like, yeah, sounds about right. So I tend to default to the Wikipedia. Besides, most other articles online regarding Jack the Ripper are either completely off the rails with cockamamie, wackadoo theories that are chock full of shenanigans. Or it's just cut and paste, copy and paste from the Wikipedia itself anyway. So let's see what they have to say here. Again, links below. Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper was an unidentified serial deleter who was active in and around the impoverished Whitechapel district of London, England in 1888. In both criminal case files and the contemporaneous journalistic accounts, the deleter was also called the Whitechapel Mumber and Leather Apron. Yes, multiple aliases. Keep that in mind, by the way. Cousin Vinny says I might even get Mrs. Vinny to watch that. She has a thing for photographing cemeteries. Yeah. Well, this is, Friday, the boots on the ground coming up, was my first time I'd ever been to the Union Cemetery here in Calgary. In fact, to any cemetery here in the city. I'm originally from Montreal, so any dearly departed are buried back there in and around that area. None here in Calgary, so. But I've been keeping it in my back pocket for just such an occasion. And it's actually only prompted me to want to go back because really I could have done way more than an hour. In fact, I had an hour and a half worth of footage and I managed to edit down to 1 hour, and it was, I was like, yeah, I guess I could do it. I guess I can cut that out. Anyways, back to the task at hand here. Attacks ascribed to Jack the Ripper typically involved women working as ladies of the evening who lived in the slums of the East End of London. Their throats were tickled prior to abdominal massagings. You see how ridiculous this has to get, by the way. But anyways, the removal of internal plumbing from at least 3 of the victims led to speculation that their deleter had some anatomical or surgical knowledge. Rumors that the deletes were connected intensified in September and October 1888, and numerous letters were received by media outlets and Scotland Yard from people purporting to be the deleter. The name Jack the Ripper originated in the Dear Boss letter written by someone claiming to be the deleter, which was disseminated in the press. The letter is widely believed to have been a hoax and may have been written by journalists to heighten interest in the story and increase their newspaper's circulation. Really? These terrible deletings done with surgical precision, yet savage violence, weren't selling enough papers, you say? That seems really weird.
I don't believe you.
So basically, somebody who worked at the paper made up some letters, they're saying. Or at least it's speculated that allegedly. Another from the the From Hell letter was received by George Lusk of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee and came with half a preserved human piece of plumbing, purportedly taken from one of the victims. The public came to believe in the existence of a single serial deleter known as Jack the Ripper, mainly because of both the extraordinarily brutal nature of the deletions and the media coverage of the crimes. So then there was, extensive newspaper coverage, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead a little bit here. Otherwise, we could be here until the cows come home. Zig and Zag in the box. Hello, howdy, howdy. Welcome. Whole bunch of new friends and faces and names to the channel here recently. So, such as Zig and Zag and a whole schwack of others. So, welcome and howdy to all of you. Thanks for jumping on the bandwagon of
shenanigans.
Anyway, moving along here. Background. In the mid-19th century, England experienced an influx of Irish immigrants who swelled the populations of major cities, including East End of London. From 1882, people wearing little tiny hats fleeing the Russian Empire and other areas of Eastern Europe immigrated into the same area. The parish of Whitechapel in the East End became increasingly overcrowded, the population increasing approximately 80,000 inhabitants by 1888. Work and housing conditions worsened, and a significant economic underclass developed. Sound familiar, by the way? 55% of children born in the East End met their maker before they were 5 years old. Robbery, violence, and alcohol dependency were commonplace, and the endemic poverty drove many women to roam the dimly lit streets at night for cash and, hey, honey, want a date to survive on a daily basis. Tiptoeing around this stuff is ridiculous. In October 1888, London's Metropolitan Police Service estimated that there were 62 brothels and 1,200 women working as ladies of the night in Whitechapel alone. Wow. With approximately 8,500 people residing in the 233 common lodging houses within Whitechapel every night. The nightly price for a coffin bed being 4p, equivalent to £2 in 2023. The cost of sleeping upon a lean-to or a hangover rope stretched across the dormitory being 2p per person. All right. So times was rough and tough in Whitechapel in 1888, and people didn't have 2 cents to rub together. What's that old saying? They didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Anyways, let's get on to the deletions here. And again, we're going to just kind of, many of us are familiar with the story, just kind of more of a reminder. And then, of course, looking for any cockamamie, goofy subtext, if you will, in the narrative. Large number of attacks against the ladies in the East End during this time adds uncertainty to how many victims were deleted by the same person. 11 separate deletions stretching from 3rd of April 1888 to the 13th of February 1891 were included in a Metropolitan Police investigation and were known collectively in the police docket as the Whitechapel deletions. Opinions vary as to whether these deletions should be linked to the same culprit, but 5 of the 11 Whitechapel deletions, known as the Conical Five, are widely believed to be the work of the Ripper. Most experts point to deep tickle marks to the neck, throat, followed by extensive abdominal and personal hoochie coochie area changes, involuntary changes, post-mortem. The removal of some internal plumbing and the progressive facial alterations as the distinctive features of the Ripper's modus operandi. Yes, his MO. First two cases in the Whitechapel deletions file, those of Emma Elizabeth Smith and Martha Tabram, are not included in the Conical Five. This is tough to dance around. You'll have to forgive me. Smith was robbed and essayed on Osborne Street, Whitechapel, approximately on 30. She'd been given noogies, fatal noogies in the face and head. Okay, let's skip to the Conical Five here. The Conical Five Ripper victims are Marion Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The body of Marion Nichols was discovered at about 3:40 a.m. on the 31st August, Friday, 1888, in Bucks Row, now Durward Street, in Whitechapel, Londinium. Nichols had been seen alive approximately 1 hour before the discovery of her body by a Mrs. Emily Holland, with whom she had previously shared a bed at Common Lodge House on Thrall Street, Spitalfields, walking in the direction of Whitechapel Road. Her throat was tickled by two deep lines, of which completely detached all the internal workings down to the bone of her neck bone. Her personal flower had been tickled twice. The lower part of her abdomen was fierce or partially displayed from more tickling. It's all done from the same tool in a downward manner. Yeah, well, you know how it is, right? Yeah, good point. Kathy Broughton in the box, as you can tell, Frankie's struggling with his language tonight. And I hate to do it, really, because, freedom of speech in the good old US of A and freedom of expression up here in Canada, land, for just two examples. But, we all know how it is, right? A week later, on Saturday the 8th, September 1888, the body of Annie Chapman was discovered approximately 6 a.m. near the steps to the doorway, the backyard or back garden of 29 Hanbury Street in Spitalfields. So basically the same neighborhood. As in the case of Nichols, the throat was opened up by two tickles, and the torso was displayed so that you could see the inner clockwork and all of that stuff. Her small pipes were missing. Her lady egg making machine and her pee-pee bag were also had been liberated, as well as her special lady parts again. Yeesh. At the inquest into Chapman's deletion, Elizabeth Long described having seen Chapman standing alongside 29 Hanbury Street at about 5:30 in the company of a dark-haired man wearing a brown deerstalker hat and a dark overcoat and of a shabby, genteel appearance. According to this eyewitness, the man had asked Chapman, "Will you?" To which Chapman had replied, "Yes." So a dark-haired man wearing a brown hat and a dark overcoat and sort of shabby chic, shabby genteel. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Owens were both deleted. Catherine Eddowes were both deleted in the early morning hours. 30th September on a Sunday, 1888. Stride's body was discovered approximately 1 a.m. in Dutfield's Yard off Burner Street, now Henrique Street in Whitechapel. The cause of deletion was a single clear-cut tickle in the neck bone. The absence of any further alterations has led to an uncertainty as to whether Stride's deletion was committed by the Ripper or whether he was interrupted during the act. Several witnesses later informed police they had seen Stride in the company of a man or in or close to Burner Street on the evening of 29th September and in the early hours of 30th September. But each gave differing descriptions. Some said her companion was fair, others said dark. Remember that. Dark guy, a light guy. Some said he was shabbily dressed, others well dressed. Eddowes' body was found in a corner of Mitre Square in the city of London, so a different jurisdiction, 3/4 of an hour after the discovery of the body of Elizabeth Stride. Her neck tickled from ear to ear, and her torso displayed and some of her plumbing were placed over her right shoulder. The section of said plumbing being completely detached and placed between her and her torso and her arm, her left arm. The left kidney and a major part of her baby-making machine had been liberated, and her face had been, changed. Her nose took a powder, and then, a bunch of different ticklings everywhere. The police surgeon who conducted the post-mortem upon Eddowes' body stated in his opinion that these actions would have taken at least 5 minutes to complete. Yeah. Rondeller says the censoring thing is triggering me. I might have to bounce. Oh, yeah, well, sorry to hear that. But, again, it is what it is, right? I have to dance around some of this stuff. Local cigarette salesman named Joseph Lawend had passed by a narrow walkway to Mitre Square named Church Pass. Two friends shortly before the deletion. He later described seeing a fair-haired man of medium build with shabby appearance with a woman who may have been Eddowes. Oh, then there was the graffiti, which was kind of a riddle of sorts. Not a riddle as in a limerick, but a brain teaser, if you will. Didn't make a lot of sense, really. Cryptic? It was slightly cryptic, shall we say. So yeah, that was written in chalk on the wall above the piece of apron, leather apron that was found. And then lastly, of the conical five, did I skip one? I feel like I skipped one, but it's so verbal acrobatics to get around some of this. Anyways, their deletions became known as the double event, ultimately. Section of her apron was found at the time. Okay, there we go. So the extensively altered and put on display plumbing, the body of Mary Jane Kelly was discovered lying on the bed in a single room where she lived at 13 Miller's Court off Dorset Street, Spitalfields. So another in Spitalfields. At 10:45 a.m. on Friday, the 9th of November, 1888, face had been changed beyond recognition through ticklage, as well as her throat. Abdomen was almost vacated of all the plumbing. Baby maker and the PP machines. And one mammary had been put under her head. Multiple ashes found within the fireplace suggest that Kelly's deleter had burned several combustible items to illuminate the room. Give himself some better light, I guess. Each of the conical 5 was perpetrated at night, on or close to a weekend, either at the end of the month or a week or closely after. It became increasingly severe as a series of deletions proceeded, except for that of Stride, where they may have been interrupted. Nichols wasn't missing any internal workings, but others were. Historically, it is believed that these conical 5 deletions were committed by the same perpetrator. It's derived from contemporaneous documents which link them together to the exclusion of others. So there's still debate, I guess. But you had different departments that had to communicate with each other through different districts, jurisdictions, so on and so forth. Different counties, different cities, really. The city of London within London is, I think the city of London is like a city-state, like the Vatican. So it's a city within a city, but it's independent. That's a good question, Channel 53. Was he the first Ripper? I don't know, perhaps. Maybe the first to be given that moniker, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, Kathy Broughton laughing at the PP machine. Well, you know, what are you going to do, right? So then there's a bunch of other deletions that occurred just before and just after that some experts are trying to linking while others have dismissed. So, I mean, basically, it's the conical 5 has kind of entered the public consciousness, you know, has become the stuff of legend. So the vast majority of the City of London police files relating their investigation of Whitechapel deletions were destroyed in the Blitz during WW2. The surviving Metropolitan Police files allow a detailed view of investigative procedures in the Victorian era. So yes, you had the City of London Police and the Metropolitan Police having to work together. And of course, you have the Commissioner, the City of London Police, who was, you know, a member of the House of Lords, Sir James Fraser. So you can see how there would be all kinds of ulterior motives, behind the scenes shenanigans going on with a lot of this too. We get into the suspects. The concentration of these around weekends and public holidays and within a short distance of each other has indicated to many that the Ripper was at regular employment and lived locally. So they figure he lived and or worked in the area. Others have opined that the leader was an educated upper class man possibly a doctor or an aristocrat who ventured into Whitechapel from a more well-to-do area, just down there to slum it, just down here slumming it on weekends to party. Such theories draw on cultural perceptions such as fear of the medical profession, mistrust of modern science, or the exploitation of the poor by the rich. The term ripperology was coined in the 1970s to describe the study and analysis of the Ripper case in an effort to determine his identity, and the deletions have inspired numerous works of fiction. Yes, movies, books, so on and so forth. Jack the Tickler. Jakob the Ripper. Yeah, well, of course, right? And these are just the little tiny bonuses that even the powers who should not be didn't even think of when they enact all of these resets in specific areas, smaller sort of meso or micro resets in certain areas at certain times. You know, like certain bombing campaigns during a certain time during a WW. You know, they want to destroy the old world, but the stuff that really sticks out like a sore thumb, you know, these large structures that are hard to explain, and some of the infrastructure that lies underneath. It's just icing on the cake that stuff like official documents end up getting destroyed or purposely go missing and get stashed away, whisked away to be stored somewhere else. And then, whoops, oh no, they got disappeared during the boom booms of WW2. So suspects over the years include virtually anyone remotely connected to the case by contemporaneous documents, as well as many famous names who were never considered in a police investigation, including Prince Albert, from the movie From Hell with the Johnny Depp kid there. Artist Walter Sickert, he did a painting, I believe, called Jack the Ripper's Bedroom or Jack the Ripper's Parlor or something. And author Lewis Carroll. Everyone alive at the time is now long deceased, and modern authors are free to accuse anyone with any need for any supporting historical evidence. Yeah, of course, as always, right? Just point and screech. Oh, you got to believe me because I said so. You got any proof? No. Anything, any kind of leads or any kind of at least little tidbits of evidence? Nah, I'm just making a crazy accusation. But it makes for good Hollywood entertainment, I guess, and it helps to keep the legend. And of course, there's the letters, right, with him taunting the police and taunting the media, the newspapers of the time. But then supposedly somebody who worked for one of these papers allegedly came forward or was accused of, or there was proof that he wrote the letters as a hoax to try to drum up circulation in a newspaper, which we heard about earlier. So anyway, kind of skimming over the last little bit of this, but you get the gist of it. These letters were very cryptic and creepy and often contained riddles or word puzzles in a sense, like, double entendre or hidden meanings, cryptic language. So link below for the Wikipedia on Jack the Ripper. Let's quickly have a look at Zodiac a little bit here, and then we'll take a mid-show break. And then we'll come back. We'll have a look at some old photographs and kind of compare and contrast a little bit of the official his stories as well. Let's see what Wacky says about the Zodiac deleter. By the way, if you just try to use the Google machine there on the goggles to try to look up this guy, you could imagine how convoluted and goofy the searches become just by using the term Zodiac. And then, of course, there's a movie from the 70s called This Zodiac, K-I double hockey sticks E-R. So, it gets jumbled in with all of that. So that's fun. Zodiac is a pseudonym for an identified serial deleter who deleted five known victims in the San Francisco Bay Area between December 1968 and October 69. The case has been described as arguably the most famous unsolved deleter case in American history. Probably the same could be said for Jack the Ripper, as being arguably the most famous unsolved deleter case in English or British history. It has become both a fixture of popular culture and a focus for efforts by amateur detectives. Zodiac's known attacks took place in Benicia, Vallejo, and unincorporated Napa County, and the city and county of San Francisco proper. He attacked 3 young couples and a lone male cab driver. 2 of these victims survived. The Zodiac coined his name in a series of taunting messages that he mailed to regional newspapers, in which he threatened deleting sprees and boom booms if they were not printed. He also said he was collecting his victims to use as unpaid labor for the afterlife. Included pictograms, ciphers, his correspondence, and 2 were decrypted in 1969 and 2020. The 2 are generally considered to be unsolved. In 1974, the Zodiac claimed 37 victims in his last confirmed letter. His tally included victims in Southern California, such as Cherry Joe Bates, who was deleted in Riverside in 1966, despite many theories about Zodiac's identity. The only suspect authorities ever named was Arthur Lee Allen, former elementary school teacher and convicted SOer who passed in 1992. The unusual nature of the case led to international interest that has been sustained through the years. So you could see, again, it's this big mystery that's become legend. Let's get into here some of the deletions and the letters here. Investigators agree on 4 confirmed attacks by the Zodiac deleter in California. 5 victims were deleted during these attacks, and then 2 survived. So that's a little different, but there is still a conical 5. So that's another coincidence or parallel. I'm going to use parallel. David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were blasted and deleted December 1968 on Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California. Michael Renaud Majot, super French name, man. What are you doing over there in that Napa Valley? Anyways, 19, and Darlene Elizabeth Farron, 22, were blasted around midnight between July 4th and July 5th. Oh, geez, bummer, man. Right on Independence Day in 1969, in the parking lot of Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Majot survived. Farron was pronounced deleted at Kaiser Foundation Hospital. Brian Calvin Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, were tickled on September 27th, 1969 at Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Hartnell survived, but Shepard passed Queen of Valley Hospital. And then Paul Lee Stein, 29, was blasted and deleted October 11th, 69. Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco. Fancy schmancy neighborhood, by the way, worth looking into on its own. Everything about San Francisco in terms of old world connections is crazy. All right, so from 69 to 74, the Zodiac mailed heavily misspelled letters and ciphers to law enforcement and media. Some letters began, "This is Zodiac speaking," and were signed with a symbol resembling the crosshairs of a boom boom stick. 4 of the mailings had a cryptogram enclosed. 2 have been solved. The letters were postmarked in San Francisco and Pleasanton, Alameda County, California. So mailed a bunch of letters. Some of them had little bits of evidence from his activities contained within the letters. And again, cryptic language, puzzles, or in his case, sophisticated ciphers. So Lake Herman Road murders. Oops, I said the M word. Sorry, HooTubes. The first deletions retroactively attributed to the Zodiac were the boom booms of high school students Betty Lou and Jensen and David Faraday. He was a student at Vallejo High, while Jensen was a student at Hogan High. Just after 8, Faraday picked up Jensen. The couple visited one of Jensen's friends. Sometime after 9 p.m., they drove to the outskirts of Vallejo and parked in a lover's lane on Lake Herman Road, just inside Benicia city limits. Just after 10, passing motorists noticed the couple parked in a gravel runoff near the gate to the water pumping station. They're spotted again at 11 p.m. Between 11:05 and 11:10. Why is this? There we go. Faraday and Jensen were attacked. Police determined that their assailant parked his vehicle about 10 feet alongside of the passenger side. He let off several blasts at Faraday's car, walked around, blasted a bunch more. Then with Darlene and Michael, they were blasted after midnight, July 4th. Farron was popular in Vallejo due to her job at a local restaurant where she met Michael. They went on a date despite the fact that she was married. Oh my. After 11 p.m., Farron received a phone call at her house. She arrived at Majuel's house around 11:50. Immediately after leaving Majuel's house, the couple noticed they were being followed by a man in a light-colored car. Drove out of Vallejo in the direction of Lake Herman Road shortly before midnight. She turned her car up into an empty parking lot in Blue Rock Springs Park. There was another lover's lane. Car pulled up again and then pulled away, and then it came back, and some blasting went on. So 3 teenagers drove to the parking lot, saw the woman couple, and got help. Police arrived 20 minutes later. Farron was pronounced deleted at hospital, and Majuel survived. Described the attacker as a heavy-set white man, 5 foot 8 inches tall, 200 pounds-ish. Large face, curly light brown hair. Wore dark clothes, no glasses. These details were not enough to develop a suspect. And then they received a phone call at the Vallejo Police Department from the alleged deleter. Said, "I want to report a double deletion. If you go 1 mile east on Columbus Highway to the public park, you will find kids in a brown car. They were blasted with a 9mm Luger. I also deleted those kids last year. Goodbye." Serial deleters will commonly pause to reflect on their actions. Different authors speculate that the 7 months between the attacks on Lake Herman Road and the Blue Rock Springs was a cooling off period. So then he's sending letters again with all this cryptic stuff. Old World, Michigan in the box. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you. Jesse Nick says most likely it was her husband. Yeah, statistics prove that if somebody's deleted, it's by somebody they know, and it's a relative or a loved one. If she was sneaking off on the side with fellas on the side and her husband found out, not that it's justified, but could be reason enough. Anyways, all these letters come to different newspapers with all this cryptic stuff. So some of these ciphers. Then we have the Lake Berryessa, 4 p.m. So this is during the day. The only one that's actually kind of during the day, I believe. September 69, Pacific Union College students Brian and Cecilia were picnicking at Lake Berryessa on a small island connected by a sand spit to Twin Oak Ridge. Sometime later, Shepard noticed a man watching them. He emerged from behind a tree, put on a black executioner's hood with clip-on sunglasses. I'm sure we've all seen the sketch. It's actually on the thumbnail for the live stream tonight. He wore a bib with a white 3 by 3 inch boom boom stick crosshair symbol on it. He brandished said boom boom stick, which Hartnell believed was a .45. Zodiac said he escaped from jail after deleting a guard and needed their card and money to travel to Mexico. Before tying up Shepard, he made Shepard bind Hartnell with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. Why not rope or whatever? Plastic-coated clothesline. Okay, it's kind of specific, but anyways. He tightened Hartnell's bonds because Shepard's knots were too loose. Hartnell still believed that they were being robbed when the Zodiac drew his sharp, shiny, stainless steel pointy object and tickled them. Hartnell suffered 6 tickle marks and Shepard 10. He hiked 500 yards to Knoxville Road, leaving several footprints for investigators to study. He drew a symbol on Hartnell's car door with a black felt tip pen, a magic marker, and wrote beneath it Vallejo 12-20-68, 7-4-69, September 27-69, 6:30 by sharp, pointy stainless steel thing. So then a fisherman got help and anyways, they were transported to hospital. Fortunately, Shepard, the young lady, passed. 2 days later, Hartnell survived to recount his tale. Earlier that day, a suspicious man had been seen around Lake Berryessa by several people. Dennis and his son saw a heavy-set man looking at them from a distance before he hurried off. Heavy-set. Around 2:30 p.m., 3 women noticed a strange man as they stopped on their way to Lake Berryessa. After they had arrived to sunbathe, they noticed the man again. Since they had potentially seen the Zodiac without his hood, the woman worked with Napa Valley Register photographer Robert McKenzie to create a composite sketch using an identikit facial compositing device. Police showed the image to other potential witnesses. That's what they came up with, eh? What the Sam steals that? He's described as being roughly 6 feet tall now and 200 pounds. Not 5'8". 6, that's a 4-inch difference. Same weight, though. Match description as Shepard and Hartnell. Graysmith. Robert Graysmith, the author, former newspaper cartoonist, also drew a sketch of Zodiac's costume after Hartnell described it to him. Napa Valley County detectives were assigned to the case in the outset and worked solving the crime until his retirement in 87. Then he drove 27 miles from the crime scene to a car wash to use a payphone. Told the dispatcher he wishes to, yeah, confessed, yeah, okay. The last confirmed Zodiac deletion took place 2 weeks after the Lake Berryessa attacks around 9:40 p.m., October 11th, downtown San Francisco. Zodiac hailed a cab, which was driven by a doctoral student named Paul Stein. The deleter gave a destination of Presidio Heights. When the taxi arrived at Washington and Maple, the deleter asked to be driven another block, Washington and Cherry. Then Zodiac blasted Stein in the old noodle with a boom boom stick, and got his wallet and car keys. 3 teenagers witnessed it. Said his face was clearly visible. He wiped down the vehicle, rifled through Stein's clothes, left behind 2 partial fingerprints from his right hand. Kids called the San Francisco PD. Described criminal as husky white man in a darker black jacket. But the dispatcher mistakenly alerted SPD's subject, SFPD, was black. So again, a confusion. Was he a dark guy, a light-skinned guy, lighter guy, white guy, just like Jack the Ripper, as well as multiple different descriptions. 2 nearby patrol officers responded to the radio dispatch. They encountered a white male in dark clothes walking north towards Presidio Army Base. Pulled alongside the man, asked if he'd seen anything suspicious. The man confirmed he had seen someone waving a boom boom stick and heading east, so they hurried away. Zodiac later claimed he was the witness that spoke to the 2 officers. Police arrived at the scene. Stein was declared no longer with us, and SFPD canvassed the area, including the Presidio. Zodiac had probably fled the area in a car by then. So then there's more letters, more cryptic language, more ciphers, article, a piece of the shirt from the cab driver. So an article from the scene, mailed in a package or a parcel or in the letter to the cops. Then more threats that he doesn't follow through with. And just confusion, right, through these letters, leading the police, and again, various police agencies having to try to work together. This happened in different areas, all trying to work together. And he's taunting them all and just adding chaos to confusion, muddying the waters, if you will. So again, kind of quick, dirty overview of Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac. We're going to take a mid-show break, give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage. And when we come back, we'll have a little bit of a closer look at some of these parallels. And we're going to have a look at some old photographs, not necessarily of, the crime scenes, but just interesting structures, interesting buildings, and so on and so forth. Not only in the Whitechapel area of Londinium there, but in and around Vallejo and so on in the San Francisco area. So if you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome. Thanks for jumping aboard with all of the crazy
shenanigans
going on here. Or, just as a reminder, every Sunday during the live show, I give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage video. That's every Wednesday. So you get a little first look at it here. Old-timey footage set to music. Every Friday, boots on the ground. And then every Sunday, back here for the live show. So this one, we're going to be looking at here. As mentioned, Halloween related. From 1931, 4.5 minutes long. You may notice the tune at the very, very opening after the credits roll and we get into the video itself. You may notice the tune there. This is Ooh, What a Night of the Vampire. Clips from the 1931 Spanish version of Dracula. Again, 4.5 minutes. Smoke them if you got them and turn it up to 11 because she's a good one. Put your ear goggles on, your headphones, your head cans. Stick around. We'll see you on the other side of 4.5. All right, everyone? Cheers. All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, hello. Episode 141 here tonight. The Halloween edition, looking at Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac, kind of a cut and paste fear narrative. So we're having kind of a creepy, spooky, fun, spine-tingling good time here on the show. We're comparing the official his stories of old Jack and the Zodiac, the top half of the show. We just looked at the official stories just to give a quick little overview, quick little refresher on Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac. And we had the little break. That's going to be your Wednesday vintage footage, the 1931 Spanish version of the Dracula movie, filmed simultaneously while Bela Lugosi filmed the English version for America. Spanish version was filmed. Now, I'm told that many experts say the Spanish version is the superior version. I don't know. I haven't been able to find and watch the entire Spanish version, but it looks pretty good to me. What do you think? Yeah, she's Cousin Vinny on Freemason says she's under vampiric control. Yeah, because they're always mad for some reason. Yeah, Sig. Howdy, Sig. She's beautiful. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Zig and Zag says, good choice, Frankie. It works. Yeah, April Wine, Canada's own April Wine with Ooh, What a Night. Ooh, what a night of the vampire. Anyway, thanks for joining. Appreciate it, as always. If you haven't already, please, do all the things to help a fella out here. The Halloween show. Just a little bit, it's around 1/4 the hour here, 6 p.m. local time, mountain time. As always, we're coming at you live from the foothills of the Canadian Rocky Mountains here in Purdy, Alberta, Cowtown, Calgary, Alberta. Ooh, for the spooky, oogly boogly Halloween show. Thanks for joining me here. Sunday Fun Day. I told you you'd recognize that opening of that Ooh, What a Night. Happy Halloween to all of you. Watch out for the oogly boogly stuff going on as we get close to Friday. Scary stuff. Very scary. Very, very scary. We've got Sig Saris here. Kinley Jackson in the box as well. Ross, Water the Tree. Good to see you. Zig and Zag and Kathy Broughton in the box as well. Cousin Vinny over here on Freemason. Baja's here. Good to see you. Channel 53. Hello, everybody. Jesse Nix is here. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the Halloween show. Exactly, from Porky's. Porky's 2, I think, actually. But that's fine. Whatever. I'm not going to split hairs. So let's see what we can see here. I've got some old photographs just so we can sort of compare a little bit some of the similarities, the parallels to the narratives. Then we'll look at just some cool old structures because, I don't know, I like to do that. It's fun. It's fun to look at old photographs. Then we'll look at some from the Whitechapel area of old London times, London town there. And then we'll look at some from Benicia and I think Vallejo. Yeah, sure. Not to compare that the buildings are similar, just to admire some of the old world buildings that are in these areas. Let's start with just the narrative itself. Excuse me here. All right. Hopefully you can see that all right. Let me know in the chat, in the box there, if you can see that okay. This is a map of the locations where the conical 5 were deleted Jack the Ripper, 1888. This one here is not actually a member of the Conical Five, so we're looking at, so you can see it's in a concentrated area. Same thing here. Concentrated area. So the parallels are I don't know. They bug me. Again, the whole thing kicked off. I recently watched Jack the Ripper movie with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, I believe. British from the late 60s, early 70s. I want to say the 70s. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Then, of course, the Zodiac, I think it's David Fincher film. And I just noticed a lot of parallels. Like they're mostly, both of them is mostly at night or really, really early in the morning, with only one sort of exception with the Zodiac during the, the daytime. All the victims were associated with hoochie coochie type stuff, sexual acts in some way, whether they be, ladies of the evening or people engaged in doing some hanky panky. And again, both the Ripper and Zodiac roamed kind of a small area. So maybe they were familiar with the territory. They lived and worked, or both. Which is kind of, from what I understand, rule number one that you do not break, or you do not commit this sin, if you will, if you're going to be a serial deleter, is you don't do your thing where you live or work. You know what I'm saying? Don't go doo-doo where you eat. Anyway. Sig says, looks like my handwriting. Chassis Nix in the box says, me and Kathy have determined the Zodiac and DB Cooper to be the same person. Yeah, from that sketch, I saw you guys chatting about that during the mid-show break. Yeah, there we go. Looks like DB Cooper. Yeah, the guy that jumped out of the plane. Yeah, DB Cooper. Did all that for $100,000 back in the 70s. Anyway, so again, as a reminder, both had the five conical victims, right? With perhaps both Jack and Zodiac committing priors, some deletions prior to and after, but generally accepted both have this conical five thing. So that's it's a strange parallel. And again, they both sent letters to authorities or to the media or both. These letters had riddles or cryptic code in the language, or literally some kind of puzzles and codes, like these ciphers in the case of Zodiac. They both actually use like really twisted or dark humor too, like really creepy humor with their cryptic language also, just like they just thought they were hilarious, but it was in a creepy, dark way. Again, they both used long, pointy metal objects, with the Zodiac also preferring, of course, a boom boom stick. And then in the letters or packages that they sent, there was always little bits from the scenes of the crime. In one case with Jack, it was a piece of a kidney. I want to say it was a piece of, the pee-pee machine, I think. And in the case of the Zodiac, a piece of the shirt from the cab driver. So yeah, that's not creepy at all. Yikes. You know.
What do you think of this? You like it?
It's a little much, anyway. There's actually both. Seems like at one point they may have also almost been caught. With supposedly Jack being interrupted with one of his victims, if you will. And with the Zodiac, the witnesses calling the police right away. And if it wasn't for the call going out on the radio with the wrong description, he may not have gotten away. But he was almost caught. You know, the Zodiac was almost caught that night too. And he hid in Presidio Park and was able to flee on foot to maybe a car that he had stashed nearby. And some speculate that if Jack the Ripper didn't live and work in the area, he got to the area by a horse and buggy, like a hansom cab, like a stage coach or a carriage. Sorry, a stage carriage, horse-drawn carriage. It's just a lot of weird parallels. Again, I'm not suggesting anything outlandish, like neither of these two are existed at all, or that they're complete fabrications. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. You know, I'm not suggesting that they're one and the same and one's a time traveler or anything crazy like that. I'm just asking. I'm just posing a few questions.
Let me ask you something. How come you asking so many jackassy questions?
Hello, Sandra. Sandra Maher in the box. Hello, Frankie. Oogly boogly. Welcome. I think it is definitely creepy, right? Again, I'm not necessarily hung up on coincidences. These are just too many. But both the Ripper and Zodiac had dozens of suspects that were investigated. Actually, both had hundreds that were questioned. But in terms of serious investigation, there were dozens. There's handwriting samples were compared in both cases, whether it's the Ripper or the Zodiac. You know, they compared the handwriting from the different letters and packages that they received and compared them to, you know, because some were, not all were sent to just newspapers or just the authorities. Some were sent to different recipients in both Ripper and Zodiac cases. Sometimes the handwriting samples matched in some letters, and sometimes they didn't in some letters, again, in both cases. Sometimes the tone of the letters, whether it was Jack the Ripper or when they compared letters with Zodiac, the tone was different. Some were more dark-humored and cryptic than others. Others were a little bit more straightforward. So there's speculation that there was people that were just messing around, or there was copycats, or maybe, I don't know, other fakery, forging, fudging, if you will. But it was like it was, you know, deliberate confusion, right? There was also confusion because multiple agencies were investigating these things. Again, whether you look at the Jack the Ripper case or the Zodiac. And even with the Zodiac being in the late 60s, early 70s, and communication being better with telephones and CB and walkie-talkie radios that the cops used and all of that sort of thing. Systems weren't all linked yet. So different counties or different cities or different areas, different police departments, different branches of law enforcement had trouble, basically the same amount of trouble, or almost the same amount of trouble in the 1960s, early 70s with the Zodiac as they did in the 1888 with Jack the Ripper. So that added to the chaos and confusion as well. So that was another parallel that I found interesting. Again, in both the cases, some kind of authority was involved with faking or forging the letters. A detective or a member of law enforcement or a journalist to help to keep the story alive, help to keep circulation going, ratings going, helping to keep their name in the public eye through association with their investigations. And then, after all the letters, all the speculation, all of the suspects being hauled in and out, they both, as the kind of a final parallel, just faded away and just kind of stopped the deletings and the communications. So let's have a look at old-timey Whitechapel here. This is Whitechapel Street, 1896. So a little after old Jackie boy. You can see the usual hallmarks of the old world, or what I speculate is old world. The arched windows and the extremely tall window openings and doorways, even though these have been covered in these goofy awnings and whatnot. You can see, if you figure this guy is, even being generous, 6 feet tall, plus he's standing on one step, this doorway is what, 10, maybe almost 12 feet from the sidewalk. All this fanciness, even for this is supposedly the ghetto, the rough part of town. You can see conical dome or something here. See all kinds of tech up here as well. A lot of people. Doesn't look that bad. I mean, you do have some crowding and, dags and whatnot running the streets, but it's fine. I mean, looks like it's an open market kind of a deal. This looks a little creepy. Again, you have to excuse the quality of the photo. A little pickle-ated. Boo-ah-ah-ah-ah. This does look like a little bit of a creepy alley. Again, you can see huge, tall doorway, steps to get in. Nice light fixture, and then whatever nonsense this is with this bobule up here, but beautiful brick. Another shot. This is Whitechapel Market. Yeah, again, this is 1900s. Kind of vague, but that's what it was labeled at. This detail way up high, where these bozos aren't going to notice or pay any attention. They're busy buying carrots or cabbage. It's the Whitechapel Tube Station, 1896. So the underground metro, the tube, the subway. Just put this big, giant, crappy sign on here. And this garbage here as well. Again, big, tall doorways. Look at the size of this light fixture, man. What the size of that thing? There's the people here. Wow. It must be, is it hanging down from this wire and it's the foreground? It looks like it's attached to this building. I don't know what I'm seeing there, but it looks crazy. A huge door, another huge door. Look at these pediments above the windows. An arched one, a peaked one. I'll tell you, it doesn't look that slummy. They got the double-decker streetcar tram. You got the double-decker omnibuses. This is the Haymarket in Whitechapel. So these are horse and carts filled with loads of hay going to the market. Sure. Cobblestone streets. There's your rail line for your tram. I mean, yeah, you get a bunch of crappy signs and whatnot, but it doesn't look that slummy. Like maybe it's spookier at night. You know what I mean? Maybe at night it's a lot more, I don't know. I mean, it's some of these tight alleyways that we hear about where some of these deletings took place, courtesy of Jack the Ripper. You know, not much light back there in some of these dark alleys and these passages between buildings and so on, right? Okay, admittedly, this is a little chaotic. Of course, you get your horse-drawn streetcar or tram. But it's already using the old tracks that are there. Even though they had an omnibus, which was streetcar double-decker wagons that used regular wheels and didn't need to be on tracks. Less restrictive, but it's fine. Look at this. But again, it doesn't really look that crummy. It just looks, it's busy. But I mean, this is a major high street. Look how wide it is. But it doesn't look decrepit and slummy and crummy. Doesn't look any different than any other area in old photos that we've seen. This is one of the workhouses. Again, huge tall windows. Look, again, being generous. This guy's 6 feet tall, let's say. This window's a 6-foot window. And it's 6 feet off the ground, 7 feet off the ground. In fact, it looks like it slopes a bit, and then got some kind of weird opening here. A little dog. Brick roads or cobblestone street. Got some kind of marrying of two structures here, maybe, and then this fancy downspout. Then this huge door again. Well, double door, actually. This ridiculous light. This ridiculous light. Again, look how massive that is. Even though this is a crappy workhouse, supposedly, in a crappy, slummy neighborhood, again, don't see a lot of litter on the ground or, you know what I mean? Aside from the stray dog, maybe, it looks fine. This is St. Mary's Church. This photo is from 1937, so a little bit more recent, but it's weird, though. This fugly clock just sticking out. Let's just have her coming right out the side there, eh, buddy? But that looks like shite. That's fine. Beautiful. But again, not looking very slummy. Still got the streetcar tram line. The brick or cobblestone street. See what's going on in Benicia, California. This is St. Dominic's Catholic Church. Just the entranceway. Note the angle where you got to have this 3/4 of a stair here, because that's to code. That's not a tripping hazard at all. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it, Nana. You're not going to trip and fall, break your neck. God willing. Be careful. Just all the little details. Giant portals here. Big, huge arch. And then all of this rigmarole. Arched pediment here. This. And the dental molding. I mean, it's lovely. Massive pillars. 6 of them, of course. It's 4, 6, or 8 usually. I don't know. 5 or 7? Nope, they don't like it. There's another view of it. Full on. A couple of lovely little domes here. Another portal here with some kind of louvered. Maybe these are bell towers, and this is part of the air circulation. The old air exchange system. like maybe they fixed the sidewalk. I don't know. Look at this place, the Hastings Folly, 1880s Benicia, California. That's just my house. It's mansion. Look at this place, man. Look at this. You got to go up like a whole schwack of stairs to what I'm assuming is a driveway where your horse and buggy could pull up. And then more stairs, another little landing, more stairs. You've got to go up 15 feet to get into the quote main entrance. Actually, even here, there's stairs up here. Not to mention this big, what in the Sam Steele is that doing there? Wall right here. And then they have a lower floor veranda with a door. And then there's windows. This is so huge that these windows, arched windows under this void under the stairs, are angled. That's how big the area is underneath here. This is ridiculous, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, not including the attic space, but we'll include the dormers and the mansard style roof because that's easy to do. This place is outstanding, man. Outstanding. It's another mansion. The Riddle Fish House. Not fish as in of the ocean, but the last name Fish. In Benicia, California. Built in 1890. Again, excuse the pickleated photo. Look at this, man. Come on, are you kidding me? You need all that, do you? It's gorgeous, though. I'm glad it's unnecessary, but I'm glad they put in all the extra effort. Oh, again, a big wall, stairs, and then more stairs to get up. It's some kind of portal down here underneath pillars and a bay window. Come on, man. Get out of here. It's beautiful, but they got silly with it. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Kathy. Kathy Broughton says, I could live in that house. Zig and Zag says, that's really something. Yeah. This is round, too, by the way, this tower with this conical dome. Bobules up here, too. Get out of here. Benicia, also home of the Arsenal. This is the Camel Corps. This is just obviously a picture, a drawing sketch of the Benicia Arsenal from 1878. But apparently they had a Camel Corps. You know, like you have your infantry and your cavalry, and your signal corps and your air corps and your marine corps. They had a camel corps. You don't believe me? There's a camel. There's the camel. These are supposedly the camel barns for the Camel Corps. Big, huge stones with these huge arches. Just march a camel right in there. By the way, the ground goes down here, so you've got to have a wooden bridge here to come into this huge arch doorway that they've squared off with a crummy wooden door. Oh, what's going on back here? Looks a little buried. Big arched door that looks kind of stumpy. But yeah, there you go. The Camel Corps there in Benicia, California. I had no idea. I thought, what? Are we? Yeah. Kathy says, get out. Aren't camels actually native here, just like elephants? Yeah, supposedly we did have camels. Yeah. It was like a... we also had the prehistoric wild horse, and then the tiger, the prehistoric wild tiger. Known as, the saber-toothed tiger, if you will. Like the woolly mammoth, right? The mastodons and all that. Which I don't think were like 10 to 12,000 years ago, by the way. I think that was much more recent, but that's a whole different topic. This is the California Hotel in Benicia on 1st and H Street. Very interesting with this recessed door with these 2 pillars holding up this big header, I guess, for lack of a better term. Then you got another door here. How much you want to bet this door just goes up directly to the second floor, and this is the quote-unquote lobby door. This is interesting up here as well. I don't see what looks like a bell in it, but it's an awful lot of bother. So again, maybe part of the old air exchange system. It's got something on it. Flagpole, lightning rod, something. It looks like there's some kind of stone or brick structure here with arched door that they've squared off, and then an arched window here. So maybe this is an addition. No idea what this is. You tell me. We'll both know there, eh, buddy? Now we're in Vallejo. This photo is from the 40s, but look at this. All this stacked brickwork here to make these little arched details. 6 pillars in the inlay of the stonework. Massive arches here with transom windows in them. Of course, you got to go up, and then, the street slopes up because, San Francisco area. So, that whole narrative of, oh, it's always been hilly. Yeah, but why is it so hilly? Did the mountains mudflood down towards the sea and create these rolling hills? Like rolling waves of slow oozing mud coming from the highlands and the mountains around nearby, making its way westward towards the Pacific? Just asking. Vallejo, Georgia Street. Look at this. Magnificent. Again, crappy signs aside, but they kind of went all out with their theater signs, though. And again, fancy light fixtures. It's quite nice. Big wide streets. Enough to park cars. This guy's even double parked. These big land yachts still have vehicles with lots of room. So yeah, they pre-planned wide streets for cars and trolleys, I guess. What else is going on in Vallejo? Look at these. And this nonsense. It's so fancy. It's beautiful. It's 1916. The Rex Theater. Yeah, they've already got their crappy fire escapes on, but at least these are kind of subtle. They almost look like little balconies, so they're not as intrusive. Still look pretty bad, though. Like this. Vallejo again, 1930s. Get this in the background. Again, excuse the quality of the photo, but just exquisite. 1940s Vallejo, it says, but I think that's mislabeled, because I'm seeing way too many horses and buggies and no cars at all. But I am seeing an onion dome with this ridiculous tech and this. And we say those are flagpoles. We all know if you put a flag up there with the whipping wind of the San Francisco Bay Area-ish, those flags are going to be ruined in a couple of days. That's why you have your flagpole sticking out at a 45, maybe 12 feet off the ground, and you can hang your flag from it way down here. That's why there's no flags on these. But yeah, I don't think this is 1940s. This is probably 1890s, early 1900s. Gorgeous, though. This is now the Vallejo Museum. It's just an odd picture. What is this big, huge building just out here by itself? Not sure what's going on. I'm not familiar with the area. This looks weird. This looks like the level ground, and you got to go upstairs, but then you've got low openings here, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on with this photo. I just saw that it was from the Vallejo Museum, so figured I'd share it. If you're from the area, please comment, let me know. It looks like it's been manipulated. Maybe it's being prepared for a newspaper article or a postcard or a book. I don't know. This is the lighthouse in Vallejo. This photo is from 1910. Instead of, building it on the shore, we'll just pound in a bunch of sticks and we'll build our lighthouse right out on the water. What happens if there's a giant storm? Goodbye, lighthouse, I guess. I almost said outhouse, eh? It doesn't even look like this is big enough to have a light in it. Like tall enough? I don't know. Interesting structure, though. And, of course, the Vallejo Carnegie Library. Look at this nonsense. And then what is this? Are you kidding me? Maybe even potentially here, but this obviously, I mean, come on. Quit playing. Quit playing. This is redonkulous here. You mean to tell me they plan this, and then the official plans for the building stipulated that you had to have a 1/8 of a size window, and it had to be on a, I don't know, 30-degree angle, probably 33-degree angle. This I understand, but this, come on, man. And this ain't the San Francisco Carnegie. This is just, Vallejo. This is goofy as hell, man. I would say so. I would agree with you, Kathy. Kathy says definitely a mud flooder. Water the tree. Ross says it looks like a miniature version of our Union Station. I think that's the case with a lot of these, is that's why the designations seem hokey now. And I think buildings that resembled certain styles like this in the old world maybe served a similar purpose, but after the reset, they were designated, one as a, as a train station, and the other one designated as a library now in our new timeline, right? This is the Vallejo City Hall. Again, big, massive entranceway with this huge pediment. All kinds of fancy schmancy going on here. Looks like brick with some coining effect. This is, I think, from a newspaper or a postcard or something, so it's a little wonky here. Looks like there's a coining detail here, so maybe brick with either a facade stone or an actual stone corner coining. Looks like we have maybe dental molding detail up here. And a funny roof line. It almost looks like it wanted to be a mansard style roof, but it's been roof, but it's been monkeyed with. I don't know. Just a very interesting photo. This in the back, obviously a little bit more modern. I think that's looks like a radio station, but maybe not. Huge arch here. Maybe it's just been so brutal facaded. Maybe it was an old hotel. A lot of old hotels, they end up sticking radio stations in them for some reason. Probably because after they reclaimed them or redesignated them, they were one of the taller buildings in the town or the city. So, yeah, let's put up our dummy brainwashing media device, radio antenna on it. Just noticing the ivy or bushes or whatever here growing. Anyway, so there you go. That is it for the file for the Halloween special, the old photos of Whitechapel, and then in sort of in the Bay Area. Mr. Infinite in the box. Howdy, howdy, good to see you. DN is here as well. Thanks for shooting in there, bud. Happy Halloween to all of you. Thanks for joining me here for the Halloween edition of the show. Getting ready to wind this thing down here. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Stuffed Beagle's going live in about 5 minutes, I believe. I hope you enjoyed it. Was it spooky? Was it scary for you? You know, was it... I hope so. Again, you know, Halloween. I don't take it too seriously, but I like to have kind of a good time with it. Why not? Just make sure to shake out the cobwebs afterwards so you don't have nightmares. Ooh, look how dark it's getting, by the way. Oh, so dark. I got my spooky green glow. Anyway, before we go here, let's see what we've got. Got some Halloween-related memes and goofy. I think Kathy shared something with me here that was a Halloween-themed meme. It's just fun to say. I'm not going to lie. Halloween decoration of the year. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Oh man, what else do we have? Well, I thought this was pretty good here. Ranking funniest horror attempts. Could you imagine? Oh, could you imagine? That's pretty good. That last one was pretty good. That fellow was terrified. Yeah. Cousin Vinny, Unfreemason in the box, has laughed the whole hour listening to you making Wikipedia safe for YouTubes. Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, a guy hates to do it, but what are you going to do? Sometimes you got to take the lesser of two evils. I don't know. You know what I'm getting at, though, right? Anyway, I think we have time for one more here. Time for one more. Which one's this one? Oh, yeah, this is a nice Michael Myers, the original Halloween movie parody. This is a good one. I'm messing with the sound a little bit here to try to... I don't know if there's a copyright on that music. John Carpenter music. This one's pretty good. It's not bad. The internet sometimes could just be great. They're using our handles for some reason, Brian. Yeah, they're testing some channels with using your channel handle as opposed to your channel name. If you go into your settings, I think you may be able to change it so your handle is the exact same as your channel name. Maybe without spaces, but like how mine is. I think you may be able to do that in some cases, in most cases. Don't quote me on that. But I did watch a couple of videos here on said YouTubes that they are testing that for comments on live chats or during a premiere when there's a live chat, that not all channels and not all lives, they're going to put your handle as opposed to your channel name. It's weird. Wooden chrome. See, like that's Rothrods in the box. All right, so there you go. I think that's going to do it. That is going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie. New West Reset Live, episode 142, the Halloween edition. Jack the Ripper and the Zodiac. Kind of a cut and paste or cut and copy fear narrative. So we had a spine-tingling look at comparing the official his stories of Jack and the Zodiac. Again, links below for everything that we covered. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a safe and happy one out there. And until the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right? Ooh, good night, everyone. Cheers.
Oh, wasn't that scary? Oh, I got scared, kids. Oh. All right, that wasn't scary. You know, I've been getting a lot of mail from you nice boys and girls out there saying the show, it stinks. Well, I'll tell you something. I agree with you. Sometimes it does. Well, we'll have a good film for you next week, kids. Believe me, you can count on that. If that's not so, I'll drink my blood. Oh, time to go now, kids.